Others in support of the bill?
Hi, my name is Michael Friedman. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in how social interactions influence physical and mental health. The easiest way to dismiss calls to not use the racist R word in schools is to say that this is an issue of political correctness around which reasonable people can disagree. But a state-sponsored use of a dictionary-defined racial slur against Native American people is something that has been shown to harm directly Native American children in terms of their mental health, and anything that causes additional stress on this population is something that can't be considered political correctness. It has to be something that's considered an issue of public health. There are three areas of research that have all shown the same thing, which is this practice is damaging. The first is experimental studies directly show that if you put a Native American mascot in front of Native American children, their mood goes down, their self-esteem goes down, their belief in their culture goes down, their ability or their belief in their ability to achieve goes down. If you put a Native American mascot in front of non-Native Americans, they process information differently about Native Americans. And the processing is negative, far from honoring. When people see Native American mascots, they think less of Native Americans. And there are separate studies that show in longitudinal studies that discrimination in the form of racial slurs such as this word predict increased substance abuse, increased aggression in Native American children. Every major mental health group in this country, the American Psychological Association, the American Sociological Association, the American Counseling Association, have years ago said that this practice is damaging to children. Every major Native American organization in this country, the National Congress of the American Indian, National Indian Gaming Association, has said that this word is racist, it is harmful to kids. Every major civil rights group, every major education group in this country has all said the same thing. This is a racist practice and it harms children. To put it into context, there are strong anti-bullying laws from what I understand in California. The very definition of creating a racially hostile environment is if you present a racial slur repeatedly over time. By any definition, if our children are going to learn how to behave towards Native Americans, this practice is teaching them that it is okay to use dictionary-defined racial slurs and it is okay to do it above the protests of Native Americans. This is far, far removed from the goal, I think, of the anti-bullying legislation, and it's something that needs to stop. Native Americans already face among the worst mental health in the country, the highest rates of poverty, some of the worst access to education, the highest level of sexual assaults. Anything that causes more damage to Native American children, again, has to be considered a serious public health issue. And I applaud the members of this committee for considering to pass this law.
Thank you. We have a little lineup of those others in support. It's just me toos, okay? Please make room for the others to speak.
Madam Chair, Seth Bramble here on behalf of more than 300,000 members of the California Teachers Association in strong support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Christopher Castrillo on behalf of the California Faculty Association in support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Barry Brokaw on behalf of the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians in support.
Madam Chair and members, Curtis Dodson on behalf of the Yochadihi Wintu Nation here in strong support.
Jeanette Sonny Patin on behalf of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, also as a co-sponsor in strong support.
Dalton Brown on behalf of the National Nonprofit Nerds and the Stanford American Indian Organization in support.
Antonio Gonzalez with American Indian Movement and the Bay Area Coalition Against Racism in Sports. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue Vang on behalf of State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson, in support. Dr. Melissa Leal on behalf of Wilton Rancheria in strong support.
Lucio Ramirez, Tribal Council Member for the Island Band of Miwok Indians, in support.
Athalia Chamberlain, local parent, in strong support.
Good morning, Senate Committee. I'm Chairman Raymond C. Hitchcock of Wilton Miwok Rancheria here in Sacramento County. I'm in full support of Assembly Bill 30.
Thank you very much. Any others in support? Is there opposition to the bill? Please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Collegian, Superintendent, Tulare Joint Union High School District. Greetings to the members of the Senate Education Committee. Thank you for allowing our voice from Tulare Joint Union High School District to be heard today as we share our opposition to the current language of Assembly Bill 30. You should have received a copy of our letter of opposition dated June 9, 2015, along with our board resolution and other documents that support the continued use of using the term Redskins as our mascot for Tulare Union High School. On behalf of my school district, from our governing board of trustees, administration, teachers, support staff, students, and local community, we would like you to strongly consider amending the current language of the bill to allow for local communities and local Native American tribes that live in Tulare County to be the ones to decide if the use of Redskins mascot is perceived as derogatory, used inappropriately, or if it divides the community. Our governor has strongly advocated for local control in many facets of public education. We now have a school finance system using the local control funding formula and an accountability system with a local control accountability plan that includes a laser focus on transparency, stakeholder input, and disclosure in all aspects of how public school funds support student achievement. Deciding on the name of a school mascot should be no different. It should be left to the local community and decision makers. Our education code and board policies that are enforced by our locally elected governing board of trustees are charged with the responsibility of maintaining a fiscally solvent, socially just, and academically supportive learning environment. This responsibility is taken very seriously within Tulare to the extent of including our other local decision-making bodies, such as the city and county governments, as well as our local tribal leaders from the Tule River and Yokut tribes, to ascertain their input and support on the use of our mascot, the deep meaning, traditions, pride, and respect that accompany how we display Redskin pride in Tulare. Our request is that you allow our local governing bodies, elected by the members of our community, to decide what is perceived to be socially just or unjust and to best meet the needs of those they serve. Thank you for your time and attention to our request on amending the bill.
Thank you. In support, in opposition.
Yes. Good morning, Senators. My name is Michelle Nunley. I'm a registered Ottawa Indian, as well as the principal of Tulare Union High School in Tulare, California. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to you in regards to our opposition of AB 30. On behalf of our school, our district, and our community, including our local Native Americans, we are asking you to please vote no and to allow this issue to stay at the local level of government where it belongs. The decision to retain the use of our Redskin mascot should remain with the local decision-making bodies. Our elected representatives know what is in the best interest of our schools and those affected by such a decision. We are asking you to respect the jurisdiction of these locally elected officials and thus allow our state leaders to be able to focus on matters more important than debating whether to insert themselves into a battle over regulating school mascots. As the Tribal Council from the Tule River Indian Reservation, one of our local reservations, stated, if the use of the Redskin mascot were a problem of great concern, it would have been dealt with at the local level by the tribes it affects. Tulare Union High School first opened its doors in 1890. The Redskin mascot was selected in 1924 and has been a mainstay in our community for the past 90 years. During this time, we have not received a complaint or concern from any local individual or group regarding the appropriateness of the mascot. When asked what it means to be a Redskin, terms such as pride, honor, tradition, respect, and excellence are always cited. It is more than just being a student at a high school. It is being a member of a family, our Redskin family. As a Redskin, we are part of a long and proud tradition. Our graduates have consistently been recognized for their outstanding accomplishments and achievements. Our Hall of Fame consists of former Redskins who have achieved professional levels of success in the areas of military service, government officials, superior court law, Olympic competition, scientists, medicine, inventors, business entrepreneurs, educators, artists, and public servants. In addition to our Hall of Fame, Redskins have excelled in politics, professional athletics, human relations, education, law enforcement, agricultural science, arts and communication, business, engineering, health sciences, industry, and technology. We have been recognized as a California Distinguished School, an Avid National Certified School, exemplary career technical education school, Title I Academic Achievement School, Tulare County Office of Education, Torch Achievement in Sustaining the Flame Award winner, U.S. News and World Report of America's Best High Schools, silver medalist, selected by the State Superintendent of Instruction and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as one of California's 10 model high schools, and honored by Fresno State's Bonner Center for Education as one of the only 6 high schools in the Valley for our efforts in the areas of civic and character education. Being a Redskin is more than just the name of our mascot. It is a way of life. It is our culture. If you were to visit other high school campuses, you might see a picture of their mascot in the gym or on a billboard. But at Tulare Union, it is our culture. If you were to visit our campus, you would see Native Americans represented and celebrated throughout the campus. As you walk through our gate, our beautiful statue of Chief Seattle stands in the center of Redskin Pride Park, and it serves as a welcoming point to all former, current, and future Redskins. Chief Seattle was chosen as our statue and focal point of the park because he was a famous Native American chief who worked together with settlers to preserve the land and all its beauties. Throughout his famous speech given in 1854, Chief Seattle continually refers to himself and the other Native Americans as the red man, and the American settlers as the white man, evidence that for centuries, even Native Americans have referred to themselves by the color of their skin. There is nothing derogatory or offensive about being proud of the color of one's skin. And important to note, we are referring to ourselves proudly as Redskins. The name is never used in a derogatory fashion or to identify others. We are proud to be Redskins. As you continue throughout the campus, there are numerous paintings, wood carvings, and murals that proudly display the history and culture of Native Americans. Whether it be our colorful and famed mural painted on the Jones Building and facing Tulare Avenue for all who pass by to admire, the historic wood carvings and paintings in our classrooms, offices, gyms, and cafeteria depicting Native Americans, or the main hall that proudly displays a beautiful stained glass window of a Native American, a massive Native American redwood statue, and a Native American mosaic from 1908 when the building was first constructed. We proudly represent Native Americans and what it means to be a Redskin. Lawrence Garfield, a member of the Elder Council at the Tulare River Indian Reservation, who was involved previously in supporting our use of the Redskin mascot, stated, "Our people always felt it was an honor that the children chose us as their spiritual leader." He also expressed concern that removing the use of the Redskin mascot is what he called racism in reverse. He feared that it would contribute to the loss of Native American heritage. The Navajo Indians in Red Mesa, Arizona, understand this concept, and at Red Mesa High School, a school composed almost entirely of Navajo Indians, they too proudly boast the use of the Redskin mascot. Members of the Senate Education Committee, I ask you to please have faith and confidence in the local communities, local citizens, local Native Americans, and locally elected representatives. Please reject AB 30 and leave the school mascot decision to the local communities where it rightfully belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Others opposed to the proposal, please identify yourself and me too.
Good morning. My name is Ron Seals. I serve as the Chowchilla Union High School District Superintendent. I am third generation graduate of Chowchilla Union High School, class of 1983, in opposition of AB 30. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlene Espinola, Chowchilla Union High School Board Member Trustee, and I am in strong opposition.
Thank you.
Mark Hatton, Visalia, California, strong opposition.
My name is Ashley Alcantara. I'm a Tulare Union graduate, class of 2015, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Justine Costa, and I go to Tulare Union as well, and I am the newly elected ASB president, and I strongly oppose this bill.
I'm Nikita Sama. I am a senior at Tulare Union, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Mia Carrasco. I go to Tulare Union, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Gabriel Gonzalez, and I'm a senior at Tulare Union, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Janet Sanchez. I'm a student at Tulare Union, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Lisette Villarreal, a student at Tulare Union, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Andrea Ross. I am a senior at Tulare Union, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is David John Macedo, recent graduate of Tulare Union, 4th generation, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Kristen Faria, Tulare Union senior, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Holly Shaw, ASB Vice President, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Cassidy Dolan, Tulare Union student, and I oppose this bill.
Brittany Audino, Chair Advisor, strongly oppose this bill.
Okay, any others in opposition to the bill? Seeing none. Questions from members? Questions from members.
Madam Chair?
Senator Hancock.
Yeah, so it seems we have some disagreements about whether this is an honor or a racial slur, as it's been referred to. And I appreciate the comments from the one high school about this. But I have to say I was very moved by the the previous testimony. And I wondered, Assembly Member, if you had any other information about what the psychological impacts are of using racial terminology in this way. I'm taken back to Brown versus Board of Education and some of the testimony in that very famous lawsuit about the impact of segregation on young African-American children. And I just wondered if you could shed any
Yeah, we have an expert witness on
light on this.
Yes, and so the one thing that's very important is that in my field, the issue of whether or not it's quote-unquote an offense.
Press the red dot. Thank you.
In my field, the issue of whether or not this term is a quote-unquote offense is only part of the picture. Most of the studies that have been done are not asking whether or not these images or these terms are offensive. They're just showing them to people. And the evidence is consistent, study after study, different investigators, different groups of people, that these images have a negative influence. They reduce people's mood. They really reduce people's self-esteem. These are Native American children. They harm people's belief in their culture. They harm people's belief in their need to achieve. There is also evidence that has nothing to do with whether or not the terms or the images are considered offensive, where it shows that people process information differently about Native Americans when they see these images. And again, the issue of offense, I guess, is something that can be debated on an individual level. From where I'm sitting, we've had every major Native American organization, every major civil rights organization saying this is an offensive term. It's in every dictionary as an offensive term. The question from my perspective is, would this meet the basic criteria of bullying or a racially hostile environment in my field? And the answer is unquestionably yes. By any measure, if you repeatedly show a stereotypical image and you repeatedly use a racist slur in the context of a school, that would be considered bullying. In many cases, people only have to use that term once. Or a racial slur once in order for it to be considered bullying. But this is something that's been going on for decades, where people have been protesting this term. Recently, it's been going on for years, and it's still used. We're talking about a racial slur. We're talking about repeated use. There are some people who may not be offended. That's okay. But that doesn't mean that there should be a public subsidizing of a dictionary-defined racial slur. That's not the standard that we use in our community. It is not to say that we're going to engage in the use of racial slurs and then assess how many people are offended or not offended. That's just not in my field how we do it. The decision is made, by the organizations of the people, by looking in the dictionary. If the term is a slur, then that's it. The fact that we're having this discussion, despite the fact that the Native American community has, for decades, been protesting this term, is evidence of how numb everybody has become to this issue. It is part of the, it's part of the fabric of our culture that is acceptable to treat Native Americans in this way. And from my perspective, it's never been the standard that if any one group of people say it's okay, that means that all people have to tolerate it. This is something that we're talking about public schools. This is state money. And I very much applaud people who are proposing this legislation, because I think it says we're taking a stand to say we're not going to support the damage that's done to Native American children. That's been shown study after study, mental health group after mental health group, civil rights group after civil rights group. And that, to me, that's the way I see it.
And Senator Hancock, just to point out, as one of the studies that was cited was American Psychological Association that noted that these Native American mascots are damaging to the education of Native American children. But beyond that, the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights also has pointed that it creates a hostile learning environment for Native American children as well. So it's repeated reputable organizations and federal agencies that have pointed out the damage this causes.
Senator Monning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the author for bringing this forward, and want to kind of add on to Senator Hancock's line of questioning and concern. If this were to become law, what would be the process for schools that have used this mascot to transition?
Well, they would have to phase out the use by January 1st, 2017, but it allows them several more years to continue to use already purchased uniforms and other school materials to allow them appropriate time to phase out even those. But in order to do that, they have to meet certain requirements that are laid out in the bill, but there is a process to still use the materials afterwards and give them a proper, reasonable amount of time to phase out those use. Usually those uniforms have certain years of life, so it's within that time frame.
Thank you. And then for the witnesses from Tulare, it seems like, at least through your testimony, there's a culture around the school that has embraced the use of this mascot for decades. And yet I'm wondering, has there ever been any type of polling of families or students as to whether they take offense at the use of the mascot within your school district?
We haven't sent out a survey, if that's what you're asking, but we've asked local community members. We've invited local tribe members as recent as 2 weeks ago onto our campus to see if they still embrace as they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and the answer has been yes.
Right. So I appreciate that. And again, I would think that while you describe a certain culture that has this history around the Tulare High School District, the fact that the national sentiment and the research, the testimony of the psychologist, you're an island within a sea of perspective of now we hear reference to the R word because of the connotation of people taking an offense. Your testimony says, well, in our community, we don't take offense. We don't see it as emblematic of racism or bigotry. I would hope that should this bill move forward, and that should your community face the requirement of exploring a change, that it could be a healthy, engaged process that could understand the history and the origins and engage the entire community in exploring how do we transition to a new mascot that captures present-day sentiment about respect and honoring all cultures in our communities. Again, I know that's not what you came here to hear, but I think that's the direction the state of California is going to be moving in the nation. And we can hold on to relics of the past and try to rationalize, or we can embrace the importance of our educational institutions welcoming all cultures and creating learning environments where there's not stigmatized images of the past that continue to be promoted with whatever rationalization. So again, I thank the author for bringing this forward. I recognize the sentiment of those brought from communities like Tulare, but would hope that this process could engage people in healthful and forward-looking conversation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Block and then Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, as a former school board member for many years, I'm often a champion of local control on issues before this board. I think it is up to local school boards to make many of the decisions that affect the children in the community. To me, though, it's for district representatives to call on local control funding formula as a justification for the clearly inappropriate use of you're not saying Native Americans, you're calling them Redskins. I mean, is that what, I have a hard time understanding how you can rationalize this. I mean, it is clearly racist. It is clearly a racial slur. It is clearly something that goes well beyond local control. I mean, locals don't have control over everything. You can't decide in your district kids can tote guns in school. You can't decide in your district you can teach terrorists and teach how to make bombs. I mean, certain things the state prescribes that school districts can't do because they're obviously wrong for the state of California and wrong for the children of California. And the use of this term is just wrong. And I thank you, Assemblyman Alejo, for bringing this forward. I personally am quite disappointed in the California School Board Association. I don't have a letter of support for this bill from them. I haven't heard any of them come forward as supporting this. The School Board Association is, I think, abrogating their responsibility. They should be taking a position on this because it should be a local control issue. The School Board Association should teach their board members that this is not appropriate for schools. Since the School Board Association hasn't taken a position, I applaud the teachers for taking a position, teachers associations. I think it is the state's responsibility to step in and say, no, this is not right. This must stop. And you know, Mr. Alejo, you have my support any way I can give it.
Thank you, Senator Leyva. No, please.
Good morning. I too just want to say thank you, Assemblymember Alejo. This is what we're supposed to do as a society. We're supposed to move on. We're supposed to recognize when something that we did in the past is wrong, and we're supposed to change it. We can all look to our own lives. We can look to recent and not so recent history and see that we've recognized things were wrong and we've changed them. And I know 20 years from now, we'll look back and people will say, wow, remember when all of those schools called their mascot a redskin? And we got smarter as a society and we realized that that was inappropriate. So I too support the bill gladly, and I look forward to us continuing as a society to do the right thing for everyone in all of our communities.
Assemblymember Alejo, it's for full disclosure, Assemblymember Goldberg and I had a set-to in 2002 regarding her bill because she identified Redskins, Indians, Braves, Chiefs, Apaches, et cetera. And at that time, I represented a high school in Acadia whose mascot were Apaches. And they convinced me that because of this relationship, which is the center of their tribe was in Arizona, and they had an exchange program with them. And so it was and I don't know whether or not it was mutual or discriminatory, et cetera, but you have, in your bill, you have eliminated all the identification of specific tribes and just used the elimination of the word Redskins. And I just want to know from you, is this a strategic move on your part? Because the other bills that have gone previous to this have indeed failed.
Well, Madam Chair, of course, this is, in my closing, I was giving recognition to former Assemblymember Jackie Goldberg, who carried this bill for many years during her time here in the legislature, very well respected, and I admire her deeply. As you know, her first bill in, I think, 2002 included all Native American names, and I, to this day, agree all Native American mascots should be phased out. But at the end of her tenure, she narrowed the bill to the most offensive term, which is this R word that we're talking about here today. And that's what we want to pick up. Even so, with this more narrowly focused bill, California would still be the first state to legislatively act and phase out the use of this word. So again, it's picking up where Jackie Goldberg left off in 2005. That bill was vetoed by then Governor Schwarzenegger, but no bill since then has been sent to the current governor to consider.
Okay, fine. And just for members' information, there are just 4 schools, in the high schools in the state of California that use this term, and they're all in the Central Valley. Okay. Senator Hancock?
Thank you. I appreciated very much hearing all of the testimony, and I'm very impressed with the fact that Tulare Union High School does honor Native Americans and has a variety of ways of doing that. And I hope you will continue that. We can certainly learn a very great deal from religion and culture of Native Americans in this society right now. But I do agree very much with the author. It is time to move past this. It isn't appropriate for any group, and we can all think of various groups that we might belong to and how we would feel if the racial terminology or the ethnic terminology used to describe them was a part of a school culture. So I would move the bill, and Assemblyman Alejo, I'd be honored to be added as a co-author.
Absolutely.
As the bill moves forward.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Hancock and Senator Vidak.
Thank you all, and Assemblyman Alejo, very compelling arguments on both sides. Being a resident of the Central Valley and actually being on the campus of Tulare Union and, many friends, generations, it is a different culture there. And, it may not be in some parts of the country, but I can tell you we've got a lot of local support from a lot of the local folks there. And I do believe in local control, but my colleague is very passionate and he makes some very good arguments also. But today I have to vote against this, but I applaud what you're doing, and I think you're doing a good job, but I also really believe in the community and in Tulare Union and what they do there. And it's a beautiful campus, and I invite all of you from out of state that are here and everybody who testified to come to see Tulare Union and see how great it is. Thanks.
Senator Pan.
Thank you. Yes, certainly I appreciate the testimony from the opposition and pride in the achievements of your school and your school district. And I hear that also from some of my colleagues. And I do think that there should, that you should be proud of things that you and your students have accomplished. But there does seem to me to be a cognitive dissonance with, you have a symbol that, while certainly you'd like to see reflects those achievements, also unfortunately has, at least over time, and also the proponents have also testified the historic roots of some of that. It may not have been how, again, we can debate about how that came to be attached to your particular school or the other schools that are in the state, but I think also unfortunately have also carries many other connotations as well. Well, we can certainly talk about local control. At the same time, we have students at schools who, football teams or whatever sports teams travel, and so those interact with other students as well. And we've heard testimony from the supporters about how that's viewed, and they're getting a very different perception. And I'm hoping that that the schools that that currently use the mascot can think about how can we reflect on how we reflect the pride in our school and the achievements of our school, both in the present and historically and in the future, in different ways that will be in ways that does not actually create negative impacts on others, whether within the school district or equally importantly outside of the school district as well, because clearly, each school is a part of a larger whole in our state and interacts with other schools as well. So I certainly, I certainly appreciate the pride that Tulare and other schools have in their achievements, and we should find ways to reflect that and to celebrate that. But hopefully we can find ways to celebrate that in ways that don't also cast either negative feelings, or not just feelings, but negative impacts on others here in our state, and we can find ways to do that in positive ways that actually lifts everyone. Certainly that's not the intention of those who are trying to express pride in their school, but I think we as a state need to do that. So I'll be supporting this bill. I appreciate Senator Alejo for bringing this up. Thank you, Senator.
Closing comments, Assembly Member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank all the students and community members who took time to be part of this debate. And certainly I have family that lives in Tulare County and still continue to live there. But I understand the concerns coming from the students and our school administrators. who attend the affected high schools, not only Tulare, but the other 3 as well. And they fear that they have, in losing their high school identity if this bill is to come to pass. But there are various examples of schools that have changed their name, not only schools, universities that have changed and still maintain a positive, loving community identity, from anywhere from Stanford University, who changed their name in the early 70s, to most recently Colusa High School, who changed their name in 2011, and they were able to build new school pride and have a new school identity around a different mascot. Those communities were able to adjust and build a deep sense of pride in their new mascot. And we all know that a mascot is not what defines your identity, it's that community, and nothing will change that. And I also want to make clear that I don't believe any of these students or community members who came today back supporting the R word mean any disrespect to the Native American people who spoke in support of this bill today. But times are changing, and the word reminds many Native American people of a time when their ancestors were persecuted and murdered. And we all know that no mascot should embody such a memory or feeling in any person. Also, local control does not supersede or preempt our state's obligation and responsibility to ensure a safe learning environment for our children, free of prejudice and bias. This is a great opportunity to create a new identity for yourself, your school, and your community that inspires joy and pride for all students. Let me remind you that this historic measure here today is part of a national movement to rid of the use of the Redskins name, and it started almost 50 years ago by the National Congress of American Indians. California is the state with the largest number of Native Americans, and every September here at the Capitol, we honor Native American Heritage Month. We have a Native American Day for full-day events in this room and others throughout the building. But the way we truly honor Native American people is to stand on moral principle and do what is right to end the use of this insulting racial slur against them. This bill is just a small step towards a bigger picture to continue and encourage many more to change these offensive mascots. I hope that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle will join me today in supporting the civil rights for all Native American communities. I ask for your I vote on this bill on my relations.
Thank you very much. The bill has been moved. Let's call the roll.
Do pass to appropriations. Liu?
Aye.
Liu, aye. Runner? Block?
Aye.
Block, aye. Hancock? Hancock, aye. Leyva? Mendoza? Monning? Aye. Monning, aye. Pan?
Aye.
Pan, aye. Vidak? No. Vidak, no.
You have sufficient votes for passage. We'll leave the roll open for absent members.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Assemblymember Calderon.